my career. I started off as a trainee, and then I was a divisional manager, and then when I was a regional manager first for everything east of the Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
And then uh, uh, after Ansley was retired early, King Kendrick was the sales manager. Now, King was one of the few that stayed when the five left, and he was the sales manager when I joined. And he was one of my mentors. He and I got along really well. And I was the number two person in under him in sales. So when when Rankin got control and they were taking a look at the reorganization, uh, first of all, King died of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
So two of my mentors,
We're
Ansley and
gone.
King, both were gone. And they decided, I remember Tom uh, called me in and he said, I know you're going to be disappointed, but he said, I'm going to make Conrad Williams. And Conrad Williams was the one we had hired from Minute Maid to head the Vitality
The dispensers?
dispensary over in Clearwater, the plant
Okay.
running of that. And a good man, but anyway, he said I'm going to hire him. I'm going to let him become the sales manager. So and that's when they moved me into to the marketing end of it. So, but and it wasn't long after that that Conrad got moved out. And King died of a heart attack, and then Bill Edwards got moved out. He just made quite a bit of changes.
Where did they move
And
Bill
then
to?
he spent all this money.
Where did they move Bill to?
They just moved him out, and he there was a little building down there that we had. It was I think our fruit buyer, head fruit buyer, was there at one time. Although we had another place for them too, Francisco. But anyway, they moved him out of his office and moved him down there. And for all practical purposes, retired him. He was still there.
Was this after he was on the commission?
Oh yeah, it was just well after that.
Well, after that? Okay.
Yeah, Bill was on the commission for a number of years.
He was a long time.
And I would be going to a lot of meetings when he was there. He was a very good commissioner
I
too.
thought he was too.
He
yeah.
really was. But
liked
anyway, they made a wholesale change. It was, you know, King had died of a heart attack. Ansley had been retired early. They moved Bill Edwards out, and then later on, Jerry Rice was moved up to be the executive vice president to run the company. And Jerry was an upcoming person. We had already moved him out of sales earlier than that, and he'd worked for a while in human relations, so he had some other jobs before that. But we spent, when Tom Rankin, then he had his grandiose ideas about what we should be doing, and we spent a lot of money on our plant. Now, a lot of it needed to be done, and then as I say, a lot of money on consultants to help us decide on this reorganization. And we just were not making the money, and we were trying to get brands started, and that was expensive, and particularly on the Florida Gold. And so I think all of that kind of helped this other group, Brabson, who was on the other side that wanted to take over too. So my point I'm making is, and I don't know whether you want to get into any of that on any, but because that's all kind of. I remember I was told by Art Stout, who had owned a shipping business in New Orleans and knew the lights shipping. You know, they were big in shipping
Right.
out there. He told me, he said, what happens in these family businesses is that they hire family people. I mean, that's just the way it works. And I often told my children, I said, of course, Hutch ended up becoming a lawyer, but I said, don't ever really work for a family business if you can help it, because it's nothing wrong with it. It's just the way it works. You know, it happens in a lot of other businesses. But my point is that a lot of the demise of Likes was not just because of our location. We were on the northern tip. It was not just because of the freezes. And now Canco was still a factor, but it was also, that was a big part of it. It was. And so when Brabson kind of won the war, he ended up, I guess the Likes board went along with it. The higher Art Pippin, Pippin was his name, to come in to run the business. The first time we'd ever had someone. That was before Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice was after that. That's right. That's right. He came in. Art Pippin came in. They moved Jerry out too. Moved him to Tampa to do something else. He was very unhappy about it too. But anyway, I think Brabson hired this other person to come in with the intent really of selling it, and he was there for about 1 or 2 years, and then, but.
Was he just like cutting people then just to get the net profits up, or what?
Yeah.
Getting rid of salaries, that type of thing?
I think that was part of it too, but it was, they just, I just felt like, I think that the Likes family just felt like they weren't doing as well, you know, financially as they, but the industry was beginning to change too. But actually one of the things that I'm proudest of is that while he was there, they gave out an award for, called the Spirit of Likes, and they picked 2 people out. I was one of them, and it was voted on by the peers, all the people that worked there.
Oh my gosh, that's
and
great.
And Parker out, and what's his name, who was on the board of Likes, Park Wright, I don't know if you remember him or not, was the other one. So that was one of the biggest.
That's wonderful.
But I probably, you know, I've gotten in my personal thing maybe too much. But
no, that's fine.
But on the other hand, that's really, I think that was the demise of the change in management there. If they'd let the people if they had left Bill Edwards and Ansley and King, who of course died of a heart attack, and others, and I think we probably wouldn't have gone trying to establish brands. We were too late getting into that. We probably would have been into chilled a little earlier than we did, but eventually, with what happened to the industry, probably we wouldn't have been around anyway. So it's all almost academic at this stage.
Right.
But we, in the golden years, Likes Pasco was the leader of the industry because of our size and because concentrate had the biggest share of the market, and our price card that we put out once a week set the price for concentrate. And one thing I enjoyed about it too is that we didn't make any deals. I mean, and some of our smaller competitors did. I mean, they'd go in, you know, and and that's the way it happens sometimes. But whatever the price was on that card, that's what and so your salesmanship was based not only, it was based not on price, not having a better price, but on the quality of your product and your service and your own salesmanship. So, but one of the things I haven't mentioned about Pasco is that we had some excellent people down through the years. We had this Englishman called Bill Mitchell, who really, he made some major differences in the quality of our product. We would cut against brands or anybody, and our quality was superb. It really was. And he was one of the major, and was one who really started the Essence
Okay.
thing in orange juice. We added that just to enhance the flavor. But also in addition to that, we were the early pioneers in the tank farms. You know, having tank farms to store it. So I mean, we were certainly the leader of the industry and made a lot of contributions to the industry. But it's just a shame in a way that things happened at the end the way they.
Right.
But it would have happened anyway. Now of course, I retired in 1995, and then I stayed on for 4 years as a consultant. They wanted me to stay, going to commission meetings and on mutual board, so forth. What was I going to lead up to the?
Well, when you retired in 1995, and then you stayed
When I retired in retired in 95 and stayed on 4 more years, but the greening didn't start till 2002, wasn't it? Like something like that.
2005,
maybe
kind of the time
maybe
when the
4 or
hurricanes
5.
came through, is when they kind of pinpointed.
Yeah, and of course we'd been hurt bad by freezes like everybody else.
Right.
The people don't talk about the '62 freeze. It was a pretty rough freeze too, and then there were other freezes as well. But the '80s were absolutely.
They were horrendous. That's when I came in.
Oh man, what a time! I was the one that was the worst one of those was '83. There was one in '81, '83, '85, and '89. I've never seen the whole
that whole decade.
that whole decade was the worst, I think. Going back to the 1894-95 freeze, I was pretty confident about the same thing. It just almost brought the industry to their knees. But it was really it was really a tough on likes and on everybody. But what was I going to say about the freezers? I'll never forget the one in 1983 because. It was on Christmas. It was a Christmas night freeze.
Right. It's Christmas freeze.
In our church, we had a midnight service, and we would always come out after the service and hold candles and sing, whatever, and close it. And we walked out of that church that night. And we are in trouble, man.
Wow.
I could tell it was. I think it got to about 17 or so right here later, but. I bet it was. I don't bet it was in almost the 20s. And we really, and that was for.
Could you hear the trees breaking at that point?
You speak of that. That's kind of interesting. When I grew up in Sanford, and my oldest sister was married to Jimmy Twilliger, whose father was one of the ones who developed that. One reason Sanford was so important in celery is they had a hard pan handle around 24 inches, and they developed this irrigation system, flooding, which really was one of the reasons that it was so good for celery. And of course, the soil was very rich too. But I remember Jimmy saying that he could remember his grandfather talking about. This was, I guess, 1894 or 5.
I mean, I heard so many reports from that one, right?
1894-95 freeze, where you could hear the actual trees cracking.
Mm-hmm. They would just burst.
And so I'm sure there was some of that in '83 as well. I never, as I said earlier, I never dreamed 25-year-old trees would be killed.
That was devastating.
But I tell you, I really love the citrus industry. It was so much fun being a grower and and with likes. I mean, and as I said, when I never would have dreamed when I joined them in '52 that they would go out of business. I mean, they would just. Because when I grew up in Sanford in the celery business, you would. Some years you'd see the celery farmers would be driving Cadillac. Next year they'd be in a pickup truck. You'd have years when they had down years too, but it's not like citrus. You could replant that in the celery, but
took a little longer.
I guess what I'm saying is that one reason I felt that I joined Pasco too is because of their size and their leadership. I just never dreamed they'd ever go out of.
Right.
But
I don't think a lot of people thought
no,
that.
I don't think anybody did. But as he says in his book, he does a good job. I think really does. The 1950s to the 80s was 30 years were really the golden years, and
They were.
I parallel that with for me, they were the same way with me. And we had such wonderful trips together. And you could take your wife in. I mean, I took Mary Louise to California, to New York, to those conventions in New England. So, I mean, it was just a wonderful. And then you could really entertain customers,
Right, they would let
which
you
you
do that
can't
then.
do it nowadays.
Now, were you around? Well, you would have been because you would have been at the commission, attending for like Pasco through the whole years when they had Anita Bryant as a spokesperson
Oh yes,
for the Jews.
I remember Anita Bryant. Oh yes.
Yeah, because we used to do a lot of promotional stuff with her.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. In the golden years of the commission, when the commission was started, by Spencer Holland in 1945 maybe, I don't know.
I'm not sure
Maybe,
myself.
or it may have been after
I thought it was in the 30s, but I
35. I think it was 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was after the Depression. See, I was born in 26, and the Depression started about 3 years after that, 29. I think it was probably in the mid-30s when the commission.
I thought it was in
that Philosophical Commission, that was a big step. I mean, they did a lot of wonderful things for the industry.
They did.
Not only for the standards and advertising and those programs that Anita Bryant was we were very effective. It was a fun time it was really a fun time to be in the citrus business.
Were you there when
No.
I heard this, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I thought I read it in one of the books. Was Walt Disney, did he actually come to one of the Citrus Commission meetings when they were signing that contract for the Sunshine Pavilion? And the Tiki
He
Bird?
could have, I don't know, but we did have a place. The commission had a place at Disney.
Yes.
And Lights Pasco had we had a place where we would take customers.
It was the Sunshine Pavilion.
Well, I mean, in addition to that,
Okay.
of our own, that we would entertain customers, bring them there
Okay.
in the heyday of Disney. Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
remember reading in the book, 50 Years of the FCC, that they actually came and did a presentation to the commission, and for some reason I thought that Walt Disney was actually there for the signing, but I don't.
He very well
know.
may have been.
Yeah.
Very well may have been.
So.
Yeah. So now, tell me about you. You were, I know you were the Citrus Queen one year, but
I was 81.
in 81.
I was in 81 when the freezes started. So I got all the questions on the freezes.
You got all the.
Then we went to the bricks, the bricks problems.
The bricks problem.
Because of the
I remember the
freezes.
bricks problem. That's right.
And then
Yeah.
and we had Kanker going on at the same time.
Kanker was really
And
rough
then
too.
and then we were enlarging the export market. I got to go to Japan to help with that, so I was involved with the Florida Citrus Exchange at that point, and Sealed Sweet Don Lenz.
Yeah.
He was there, and I made headline news because
Don
I
Lenz,
kissed
that's
I
a
kissed
name.
somebody on I kissed one of the managers for the baseball team when I was giving them citrus fruit, and not even thinking, that was a big no-no over in Japan. But a Southerner girl, you always
Oh,
kiss
there are two of
everybody on the
those?
cheek. There are
I'll
two of
keep
those.
one then.
Yeah, keep one of those.
Unless you need to.
No, I only need
Yeah.
the one. So,
Yeah.
but and then anyways, I went back and ended up going to work for the Department of Citrus for 3 or 4 years. But like I said, the freezes just kept coming, and the budget, as you know, was determined by the.
What did you do? Where were you from, and what did you do before?
I lived in Winter Haven.
Lived
grew
in
up there.
Winter Haven.
I just needed money for school, and I wasn't involved in citrus at all.
Did you go to Florida Southern?
No, I ended up going out to Arizona State.
Arizona State.
I went
Yeah,
to
my-
Polk State, Polk Community College at the time,
Oh, I
and then out
see.
to Arizona State. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah. But yeah, never thought I'd have a career in citrus, but I ended up started as Miss Winterhaven, filled in for the Citrus Queen, took a camera crew through Winter Garden Citrus Co-op,
Oh, yeah.
and then ended up. Bob Eastman was the director of the Florida Citrus Showcase at the time.
Yeah.
And so
Say his name again.
Bob Eastman.
I remember that name too. Now
Yeah.
that you mentioned it, yeah.
And I think
Cypress Gardens always such.
yeah, and so so then he talked me into going into the Citrus Queen pageant, and Bill Raley was
I
the
see.
head of Dundee at the time. I think he might have been president of the showcase at the time as well. And he and I hit it off pretty well, and I didn't win that first year, but came back 2 years later and got it, and then traveled all over, and I've been in citrus ever since.
Anyway, our 50th anniversary really turned out really well. In fact, it was one of the first times I ever got a note from Palm Rankin.
Oh my!
He didn't write notes. He didn't thank people for anything, hardly. This thing, for some reason, that's got loose. But this was done later. But it's really from it's from what we did for the 50th, which was we started in 36, 50 to what? What was that? 36 would be 86. 1986, we were
Right.
50 years old, and we did it was really, did you know Lee Colleen, by the way?
No.
She was our, at one time we had kind of had our own print shop, we had our own kind of advertising group, but anyway, the story that's here, this was done later on, but the story is the same with some update of what we did for the 50th anniversary.
Oh, great. Okay.
You could take this along too if you
I
like.
would love to, absolutely,
And
because I
then-
don't have any of that.
And then you can.
So
and,
whatever happened?
And then the Pasco brands. This is something they put out when the people that bought us before they went out of business. And then Mike Sparks. By the way, what's happened to Mike?
Mike's still around. He
He's
lives
still around?
over in on the
Tampa? Or is
in
he-
Tampa area. It's
Yeah.
a little south of Tampa. I'm drawing
Yeah,
a blank on the name, but
He and I were good friends, and I had him up to speak to Rotary. Been a Rotarian for a long time. In 2019, he did a State of the Florida citrus industry in 2019, which is really well done. I don't know whether you ever saw it.
I did not.
If you want to take that and read that, and then maybe you somehow get this, I would mind having those back. I don't know
Absolutely.
whether I actually, but I wanted to ask you about some people. I know Ben Hill Griffin's passed away.
Right.
How about Joe Marshman? Is he still?
Joe's still around, as far as I know. He was at the last. I think it was last year. I think I saw him at the Citrus Hall of Fame.
Uh-huh. How about Bob? Is Bob Turner still?
I think Bob's passed because I went to school with his boys.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
Buck Thompson, that was with Winter Garden. I wonder what's happening.
I didn't know him.
And Bob Mears. I don't. You know, one thing we did too, that Pasco did that maybe hadn't been talked about much, but we were the early people that went into Brazil. When we started the Vitality program, it was an all Valencia product.
Right.
And the 62 freeze made us realize that we needed another source. So we sent people down to Brazil, Don Wiggins and
I knew Don.
yeah, you know, and there were some others that went down, and really was the start of their processing business. And so, like Pasco, was very influential in the beginning of the Brazilian industry.
Did you invest down there? Is that how
We
they started?
didn't
or how-
invest. We went down there to help them as consultants to get into the processing end of it. And I think we were the first. There may have been others going down later, but because we needed another source a product,
Your supply, right.
but in particular for the Valencia that was in the Vitality program. So we were, and of course, there was a time when people were upset with Florida because we bought so much from Brazil, but they were a good source, and unfortunately, we've got them now.
Right. That's why I was getting ready to ask you, because I know a lot of people were very upset about that whole entry into Brazil at that one time.
They were, but they were a good backup when the ones that were upset was that when we had freezers before Brazil, for an example, Emmett Evans, he was with Pasco. Then he opened his own plant here in Dade City at Evans. We had 2 plants in Dade City. You may not have known that.
I did not realize that. I know we had Evans packing.
Evans had a processing.
I did not know
but
that.
they packed only bulk. They didn't get into the bulk. That's when bulk product was so important. But that was in about before the 57 freezes. I think it may have been. Anyway, the story is he made enough money after he built that plant the next year because of the freeze and the high prices of citrus to pay for the plant. He's had a Midas touch in whatever he's done.
He didn't seem to be very well liked by a lot of
people
in the
industry,
liked him.
He was the gorilla in the room. I mean, nobody liked him. He was.
But why didn't they like him?
Well, he was. I don't know what he was a millionaire, and yet he never gave anything back to the community. Here in Dade City, he could have done a lot, and his son Jimmy, who is a good friend of mine who since passed away, he just beat him down so much. He was just he had a lot of rough edges, but he was just almost a ruthless business person, I guess is right. I don't know how else to put it, but and he made a lot of money in the futures market, and he was always like, and I'm sure he always felt like he was the smartest guy in the room. He probably may have been, I don't know.
But he just didn't give anything back.
Nobody really liked him. I mean, he was not very popular.
Yeah.
And he was, and he's one of the ones who started people all going up to Highlands. A lot of citrus people been going to Highlands for years.
Right.
And so I said, we bought a house up there, that Grove Corporation, and we went from the 80s, and had it for 5 years. But anyway, it was his personality. He was just. He was hard on his son. He never really gave much back to the places that he lived, and he just was and thought that he was the smartest guy in the room, and he probably was. But
sounds a little cantankerous.
But yeah, I did like it.
Yeah.
But let's see who else I wanted to see about. I don't know whether Don Wiggins is still alive or not, and I know Wally Brown is not. And Bill Mitchell, who was our quality control man, he did so much for our product. It was just amazing. Ansley was a real stickler for quality when he came, and we really, and I'd say we could cut against anybody in those days you would do that. You go into a buyer and they'd compare your product with some other products.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah. Now, Southern Fruit people, Caruso's, is he still?
No, Steve passed away several years ago.
I thought he did.
Yeah.
Is it Bob Baer that went to
Bob Baer's still,
yeah,
yes.
he's still alive.
He's still alive. He retired.
He's retired, yeah. He went, Dan Gunner, but is he alive?
Dan passed away.
Oh, gosh, he was good. He actually worked for us for a while, too.
As a consultant, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, he was an employee, too, before.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Before that. Ski Dick was a consultant. Did you remember that?
I don't remember
He was with Minute Maid. he's the one that kind of helped us try to get into the brand business because
Yeah.
he'd been retired from
Your
them.
dad passed away 2 years ago, I believe.
Dad did. I see.
And Bernie passed away too,
Bernie Lester.
just last year.
I was going to ask you
Or maybe
about.
it might have been 2 years ago.
I really liked him.
I
He
did
was
too.
such
He was one of my
an excellent.
favorites.
Oh, he was
Just a real gentleman.
He was probably one of the strongest head of the commissions, such commissions. Well,
He's
there
so
were
smart.
there were a lot of good ones, but he was very good.
I liked
But
him.
I wondered about him, and I knew Bob Bear was still alive. I knew that
He moved. I'm trying to remember where he
he
moved.
became the head honcho
He did.
at Florida Natural, didn't he?
He
Yeah.
followed Steve Caruso.
Yeah, and he followed Dan Gunner, taught at Florida, and was
So he had come over
and then
at
he
the
was
Citrus Commission. He was the
Yeah,
economist
he
there.
was an economist.
And then
when
he-
I was going, he was
And then
the
he went
economist.
over. Then he went over to Florida's Natural
That's right.
under Steve, and
Yeah.
they hired him away.
That's right, from Steve, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about Christine? Well, I see she was married to Dan Gunner, Christine.
Kristen, yes, she
Kristen.
was.
She was married to Dan, and then
She's still around.
She's
She
married to
retired, though.
Carlson. Is that
I
her
think
last
that-
name?
I think that was-
I think they quote I thought that's who he was talking about when he had her name listed as Kristen. I thought that was.
That was her.
Yeah,
I
I
think
thought
that
it
might be
was.
her. Maybe that was her maiden name. She went back to it. I'm
Yeah.
not positive, because she married. She was married to Duke Chadwell, right?
Oh yeah, she was.
Was I right?
She married to Duke Chadwell, and then she
And she married
married somebody else.
Dan Gunner,
Dan Gunner, that's right.
That's-
Married to Dan
yeah.
Gunner, that's right.
and then I think she went back to her maiden name.
Yeah, maiden name. Is that a maiden name, Carlson?
I think,
Yeah,
but I'm not
and she
positive.
was pretty sharp.
She's still
She
very
was.
sharp. I really
And,
like.
and she was head of the
she's a favorite of
processors for a
mine.
while. But
She
now, how
just-
about Cliff Beasley that was there when?
I don't know if Cliff is still around. I'm not.
Yeah,
I want to say that he's passed as well, but I'm not sure
I
about
wouldn't be
that.
surprised.
There was somebody
Yeah.
that I saw recently that was Warren Savant. I saw him a couple years ago, and he was still around.
I'd forgotten about it.
He was before Cliff, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not sure if he's still around or not, but I know he was as of several years ago, because he came to the Citrus Hall of Fame.
How about Bobby McGowan? He's still.
He just passed away recently.
He just passed away.
Yeah, about a year ago.
I'll be darned.
Yep.
And now Mike Sparks is still.
Mike is still here.
Yeah.
He's still with us.
But you see, Bernie passed away. Yeah.
Bernie did. Hmm. And I think Don Farmer passed away.
I remember
think
that
he did.
name too.
Now, Bill Jones was still around, but he's not doing well from what I heard. He lives in Lakeland.
Joe Davis passed away. I remember.
Yes.
He had a place in the Highlands.
And Jerry
Now,
Schicone
how
just
about
passed
Doug?
away.
Doug Bonique?
He's still around.
He's still around.
He's still head of Indian River Citrus League.
They still have it, the
They
league.
still do.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how much longer, but it's still there.
and
he's still around.
and George Hammer.
George Hamner's still.
Yeah,
In fact, George,
he was quoted. I think I saw that way.
George and I are good friends. I play golf with George.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I like him
Yeah,
very
he's
much.
a lot of fun.
I used to go to some of the to the Indian River Citrus League meetings too. But it was in Vero. Well, it was in Fort Pierce, wasn't it?
No, it was in Vero.
It was
in
Vero. That's right.
Yeah.
Fort Pierce, no, yeah.
And
That's
then
right. It was
Ben
in
Bailey's
Vero.
still around. You know Ben. Trying to think. I'm not sure if Bill Becker passed away or not.
I'd forgotten about Becker.
He was.
I liked him. But
He was around until, but I think he's either not doing well or he's recently passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So many of them are.
I know.
Tell you how. Well, it's a great industry. It's just, as far as the future of it, I'm encouraged too. But in this thing, Dan, that Mike did for this one.
Oh, Mike Sparks did this
he
one.
did. He talked about the craft program.
That seems to be helping out.
Yeah, where they I don't know how many growers participated, but where they're testing all these different rootstocks. But you know, that takes about 5 or 7 years, and then after that, then they got to be field tested commercially.
Right.
I think there's going to be an industry, but it's going to be 10 or 15 years away. And I think it's going to be with people that have deep pockets. I'm telling you.
It's not, you're not going to have any family growers left. You know,
No,
that's the same.
they're all going to be agribusinesses, and I don't know how much land's going to be left. They keep building. Of course, you're not familiar maybe with Dade City, but
well, it's like that in Vera too.
All around Dade City, they're building houses everywhere.
They said it's hard to find the land anymore to get that because it's either too valuable or out too far.
But I guess there'll be still land further south. The one thing that's interesting is that Wilton Simpson, who's a commissioner, he's from Dade City.
I like him. I like him a lot.
Him. I think he's probably going to run for governor. But anyway, Wilt Simpson and Ted Schrader, the Schraders were real big in citrus here, and and he was big in the banking business too. A good friend of Yama Johnson, who was my Nancy's father-in-law.
Okay.
Anyway, Will Simpson and Ted Schrader and Alan Altman, who headed up Farm Bureau Insurance here, have gone into this. Steve said the name of it at the meeting we had out at the Pioneer Museum. I can't remember what he called it, but where they tint acreage, and not just trees.
Oh, it's cups. Citrus under protective screens.
Under protective screen. But this, what they're talking about, it's a 10-acre block. That's all.
There's
it's like a.
Right. There's acres of it.
Yeah, and there's like $1 million investment to get involved in it. So
it's expensive.
Very expensive, but the production is absolutely.
On 3-year-old trees, you're getting some major production from what they're telling me. And I've seen some of them, and it's beautiful fruit.
The fruit is beautiful, but it was interesting. Steve was saying at this meeting, it's only good for fresh. They can't use it for process. I don't know what.
It's too expensive.
Is it too expensive? Is that it?
Well, there's that, and there was something to do with
I wanted something to do with the nature of the fruit. I don't know what it was, but
there was there was something in and I don't know if it was the solids or what. I don't really remember, but I know. But part of it was just the economical reason, because you're spending so much money.
Yeah.
They're going to get more money for fresh than they would for the processed side. So that was.
Yeah.
And almost all the processed side right now is coming out of Mexico and Brazil. Everybody's blending. And Florida's Natural had to make that decision last year, the year before. Well, it's actually a couple of years ago now.
Is Florida Natural producing any kind of product now, or they haven't?
Well, they still have their co-op guys.
They've got some co-ops that.
Right, they're still producing, but they're having to blend it all. At one point, they were all 100%.
blend a lot of Brazilian with it, I'm sure.
Brazil and Mexico.
And Mexico too, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even like Natalie's and Perconi and some of those guys. I mean, it's all blended product. You're getting it out of Brazil and Mexico.
Well, Alan told me, he said it wouldn't be for publication, but he said Bob Bear made a statement that he didn't know whether there was ever going to be really citrus grown just in the field. Almost as if this tinning thing is going to be, I don't know.
It's a big.
But I just hope that they will find a rootstock from all these people and ones that they have doing this research.
There's a couple right now that they seem to be very promising. So let's hope that one of them pans out.
But they're just going to be of time before they can do.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll have citrus in Florida. It's just not going to be anything like that.
That's my feeling. I feel the same way. Well, I've got one. As I said, my son had triplets, and one of them, he's a lawyer now. He works for Morgan & Morgan in Lakeland, and I have another grandson that works for Morgan & Morgan in Tampa. They're both doing very well.
That's the largest law firm like
Mac,
that there is.
Conor Mac studied agriculture at Florida, and really, he's the only one sort of in the family that I think would be interested. So maybe in 10, 15 years, maybe he might want to get into that thing. I hope so.
You never know. That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
you never know.
It'd be nice to have somebody in the family.
That'd be nice. Well, Brenda, I've done a lot of rambling. I hope I didn't get off the subject too
No,
much.
I appreciate the time and everything.
And I'm sure you will edit what's proper.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm going to take these with me, and I'll make copies of everything and get them back to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's no hurry. Just whenever you get around to it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.